Later, he was accused, arrested, and then taken away to Syria. He was accused of being a member of al-Qaeda. He was sent to Syria and tortured. Just one problem: there was no real evidence, and it could happen to you. 360 investigates next. A moment ago, Andrew Sullivan laid out the nightmare scenario: people picked up, detained, and tortured in the war on terror. Could it happen? Well, it already has. Just ask Maher Arar. U.S. officials believed Mr. Arar, a 36-year-old Canadian software engineer, was a member of al-Qaeda, and they deported him to Syria, where he was allegedly tortured for months. Now, a 2-year investigation by Canadian officials has cleared him of any ties to terrorism. It's also uncovered the mistakes that put an innocent man through 10 months of hell. Earlier today, I talked to him about his ordeal. In a moment, my interview. First, some background.
There is no evidence to indicate that Mr. Arar has committed any offense or that his activities constitute a threat to the security of Canada.
Those are the words that Maher Arar waited nearly 4 years to hear.
Today, Justice O'Connor has cleared my name and restored my reputation.
The report that's given him his good name back fills 1,200 pages and 3 volumes. It describes a nightmare that began in late September 2002, when U.S. officials detained Arar at New York's Kennedy International Airport. They were acting on information received from Canadian police, linking Arar to al-Qaeda. Among the report's findings, those Canadian officers were inexperienced, and the evidence was flimsy at best. It also describes how Canadian counterterrorism officials told the FBI they couldn't link Arar to al-Qaeda. But U.S. officials deported Arar anyway. He was sent to Syria, where he was born, a country notorious for torturing prisoners.
The beating I went through is just beyond human imagination. The cell they put me in, the size, which was the size of a grave, 3 feet wide, 6 feet long, and 7 feet high. It was dark, it was filthy.
But even as Arar speaks out about his ordeal, the U.S. Department of Justice stands by its decision to deport him.
Mr. Arar was deported under our immigration laws. We were not responsible for his removal to Syria. I'm not aware that he was tortured.
A special commission in Canada spent 2 years investigating the incident. The report it released last week urges the Canadian government to formally protest American treatment of Arar. And as for the man at the center of it all, he's suing U.S. officials and agencies responsible for sending him to Syria. He's also demanding an explanation from the Bush administration. Well, the Bush administration doesn't call what happened to him rendition, the practice of sending terror suspects to other countries for interrogation. It says it simply deported a man believed to be a terror suspect. Earlier today, I asked Mr. Arar exactly what happened to him when he got to Syria. How long was it before the torture began?
The message was clear from the first day that if they do not like my answers, they will be using torture. At the end of each day, they would tell me tomorrow will be worse. So next day, they actually started the beating with a cable. Out of nowhere, the interrogator came into the interrogation room and he started beating me.
What cable? What do you mean?
Well, it's a black cable, and he asked me to open my right palm. I opened it, and he hit me with it. And you know, it was extremely humiliating because I was never beaten in my life, not even a slap on the face, you know. So the pain, that, just to give you an idea about the pain, it's so painful and intense to the point where you really forget every enjoyable moment in your life.
And you're willing to say just about anything.
Well, yes. You know, when the beating becomes intense to the point where you can't take it, you just tell them what they would like to hear.
How long was it before you gave a false confession?
Well, it's the third day. The most intensive day was the third day. I can tell you that the interrogation lasted anywhere between 16, I would say, to 20 hours. And
16 to 20 hours you were interrogated for at a time?
16 to 20 hours approximately. The beatings, of course, on and off. Sometimes they would put me in a room alone where I could hear other prisoners being tortured. And that was psychological torture on its own. It's just beyond human imagination, frankly.
Did you think you would ever get out alive?
You know, I had weak moments where I really wanted to commit suicide because I couldn't take it anymore. But I think what kept me going through all of this is my faith and the hope that one day I will be released.
I want to read you something that the U.S. Justice Department has said. They said you're a Syrian national who was deported. They don't say you weren't a subject of rendition. They say you were deported, and that, quote, that the U.S. government received what they believe to be reliable assurances that you would be treated humanely, consistent with international treaties and conventions. You think that's a lie?
Well, the deportation process they use is a disguise. You know, if you compare what happened to me to the other stories that we've heard over the past 3 years, it's clearly, it follows the pattern of rendition.
You're suing, I know. What is it you want? I mean, obviously monetary compensation for what you've been through, but you want someone to apologize.
Through the lawsuit that I've launched, you know, just to remind everyone, the lawsuit was dismissed last year by a federal judge, but we are appealing. And most importantly, what I want is, I want to hold those people accountable. I want to hold those American officials who sent me to Syria accountable so that this doesn't happen to any other person. That's the most important objective I have.
We appreciate you coming on, Mr. Arar. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Well, coming up, fundraisers, speaking engagements, and meet and greet dinners. The chicken circuit. Just some of the ways politicians get the cash to campaign. And this year, the cash is flowing like, well, perhaps like never before. We'll have the numbers coming up. We're keeping them honest tonight. And the prison, where the only way to restore law and order was to break in. We'll explain why ahead.